You know what's wild? Sometimes the people with the fanciest homes, the loudest shoes, the most expensive perfume, they're the ones most desperate for an audience, for a chance to show you just how far above you they think they are. That's what I realized the night a millionaire decided humiliating a 13-year-old black kid and his mother was better entertainment than whatever champagne-fueled nonsense she usually cooked up. Yeah, that happened, and it changed everything for everyone. It started on one of those sticky, electric evenings when anything can happen, and usually does. Veronica Costello, queen of the city's construction world, all marble, pearls, and a mouth that could slice granite, stood at the top of her staircase, glaring down like I'd tracked mud across her Persian rug. "Really, Lucia? You brought your son to my house." Her voice carried all the way down the hall, bouncing off the art, the gold, the expensive indifference. I watched Diego, just 13, shrink behind his mother. Lucia's hands trembled as she wrung her cleaning rag, voice barely above a whisper. "I'm sorry, Miss Veronica. School's on strike. I had nowhere else." "Of course he'll get in the way." Veronica cut her off, each stiletto step a tiny little earthquake on the tiles, as if just existing near her was an inconvenience. She never looked at Diego as a kid, just as another piece of the background that wasn't up to her taste. Diego had seen this all before. The way rich folks acted like people who cleaned up after them were invisible, just part of the machinery. Except this time, something felt different. Suddenly, Veronica stopped, picked up a stack of documents, and turned to Lucia with a cruel little smile, eyes never leaving Diego. "Maybe your son can actually be useful for something." She grabbed a contract, waved it in the air like bait. "See this? My translators are charging a fortune for a Japanese contract, and it's holding up a $50 million deal. How about a challenge?" She smirked, holding the papers like a threat. "Translate this by tomorrow. Do it right, and my salary's yours, 240 grand. The laughter that exploded from her circle of business friends was so sharp it left marks. "You're terrible, Veronica," snickered Roberto, some hotel guy. "The boy probably can't even read Portuguese, let alone Japanese." More laughter, more eyes on Diego like he was an exhibit. But Diego, instead of folding, looked Veronica dead in the eye and asked, "What if I do it? Will you really pay that much?" It was the kind of silence that freezes time. Then, mocking agreement, conditions, and more bets. A room full of adults all sure the joke was on him. Too arrogant to see the edge in his eyes. If only they'd known. Veronica made it official. 36 hours. Big crowd. Bets flying. The guests, already tipsy, doubled down. Their laughter getting louder, uglier. Diego stayed calm, every detail burning into his memory. He waited until his mom could leave, then faced Veronica alone. "Last chance to back out, kid." She sneered. Diego, polite as ever, asked, "If I succeed, will you also apologize to my mother for 4 years of disrespect?" You should have seen their faces, like a child had sworn in church. The room got real quiet, real fast. Veronica, trying to look unfazed, laughed it off, but promised double the money, a public apology, and a private school recommendation. If, she emphasized, when pigs fly. Diego nodded, already planning, already somewhere else in his mind. Before he left, he looked around and asked one last thing. "Are you sure you want this to be public? Because after I bring that translation, people will have questions." For a second, Veronica hesitated. Only for a second. Her arrogance wouldn't let her see what was coming. Back home, Lucia was terrified. "Diego, she'll fire me. She'll ruin us. You can't learn Japanese overnight." But Diego just looked out the window, calm, confident, like he'd already done the math. "Mom, remember Mr. Takashi from last year? I spoke Japanese with him, remember?" Lucia finally did. She'd brushed it off then as a party trick, but Diego had learned Japanese online, by himself. He researched every name, every company, every detail, until he stumbled on something that made his heart pound. The contract was fake, a cover for laundering millions through shell companies. Addresses didn't exist, certifications were forged, money was vanishing overseas. By sunrise, Diego had 3 envelopes. One with the perfect translation, one with a 15-page report on the fraud, and a third with copies for the authorities. Takashi, on video call, told him, "You found something very serious, Diego. We need to involve the police." Diego agreed. He'd hand everything over just as he delivered the translation. That morning, Diego put on his best shirt, hugged his mom, and walked back into the lion's den. At Veronica's mansion, the whole crowd was waiting, the cameras rolling. Veronica, queen of cruelty, grinned. Our little star has arrived. Everyone's phones out, ready to capture what they thought would be a child's humiliation. Diego handed over the translation. Veronica scanned it, her smirk fading, replaced by confusion, then shock. This is correct? She stammered. But Sakura innovation doesn't exist. Diego's words sliced through the room. He presented his evidence, showing government records, fake addresses, forged documents. The guests, suddenly silent, watched Veronica unravel. When Diego played a recording of her bragging about creative partnerships the night before, a hush fell over the room. You recorded us? Someone gasped. No, Diego replied. You streamed it. It's still live. That's when all their phones started ringing. Reporters, police, chaos. On the TV, a news anchor announced. Teen exposes massive money laundering scandal. Veronica slumped in her chair, tears and mascara running down her face. How did you? She whispered. You wanted to show me my place, Diego said. I decided to show you what I can really do. Police sirens cut through the mansion's quiet. Diego, calm, stood at the door. Ms. Veronica, about the salary, keep it. I've already been offered more by newspapers, and the university gave me a full scholarship. Oh, and my mom. She starts as supervisor at the courthouse Monday. Triple what you paid. He walked out. Past the panic, past the sirens, straight into the sunlight and his mother's arms. 6 months later, Diego was a freshman at the Federal University, the youngest ever, studying engineering and applied linguistics, with publishers and tech firms knocking on his door. Lucia ran 3 cleaning departments and was studying business at night. Their new apartment wasn't big, but it was theirs. Netflix wanted their story, and the mayor honored Diego for academic excellence. Across town, Veronica was bankrupt under house arrest, waiting for trial. Her company dissolved, assets seized, friends disappeared. The others lost jobs, reputations, everything. Diego, meanwhile, was giving lectures on ethics to CEOs, refusing to consult unless a share went to educate kids from poor neighborhoods. When the news asked how he'd done it, he smiled and said, "Knowledge is the only thing no one can take from you. I just had to prove it." 3 years after the night at the mansion, Diego was accepted to Harvard, Oxford, Tokyo, deciding which path would help him teach the world that real power comes from what you know, not who you can crush. In the park below, kids played, on swings bought with the money Diego's work had recovered. If you ask him, he'll tell you, the best revenge isn't money or even justice. It's success that pulls others up with you. That changes the rules for everyone. So let me ask you, what would you have done in Diego's shoes? Does real justice mean exposing the corrupt or building something better afterward? Drop your thoughts below. I want to hear, what's your definition of real power? Where do you draw the line between revenge and justice? Let's talk about it.